I go fast instead of slowly, instead of last. If my father survives me, if I explode, if I go up in smoke, if I go quietly, when I go quiet, give my heart to my mother. She'll know what to do. Give my songs to my lover. She'll know what to do. Give my bones to my father. My poems to my sister. My love to one another. Give it all to each other. And I suppose the soul can go to the children. I suppose the trash can go to the museum. I suppose the dreams can go in the casket. I suppose the blood will go where you ask it. Will go where you ask it. Will spill where you ask it. Will spill where you ask. I'll spill where you ask. I'll spill where you ask. I'll spill. I'll spill. I'll spill. I'll spill. I was once the tree, and I was the paper. I was the hair, and I was the razor. I was the leg, I was the table. I was the cloth, and I was the indigo. And I was the indigo, and I was the indigo, and I was the indigo, and I was a color girl, 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 and I was a color girl. Doom did. It's the blue light when we're out with our friends. It's the blue light asking where the night should end. It's the blue light saying, come over. It's the blue light in my coat on my shoulders. Lying in your room, playing with your hair. Lying to myself, saying that there's nothing there. There's nothing that we share. No reason to care. No way of knowing where this is going. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? What are we doing? It's the cold light of the moon when I'm walking home. It's the warm light through my window when I wake up alone. It's the white lies when our friends ask what's going on. It's the white lies when I say we're just fucking and that's all. Laughing in your room, riding in your car, promising myself I won't let this go too far. And yet here we are. And yet here we are, so much drinking, all you outcasts gather round. Roll a fat one, pour the shots, give this dead all you've got. Let the liquor loosen your mouth, make a bow with friendly tongues. Call your lover, say you're sorry, then go back to making fun. Your friends are drunk and useless. Welcome to senior year. The night is young and ruthless, and you want to disappear in the hallway, in the hall, in the hallway, in the hall. You can hear them all around you, broken hearts and blushing sighs. Truth's a hard pill to swallow.
Life is pain. Oblivion alone yields peace. You call me stranger. I call myself salvation.
The love of a god is not a blessing, it's a scar.
How can I be the paragon of Mahu if I don't even know who I am?
There's gotta be more to life than making mistakes and making up for your mistakes.
I'm the paragon of risk and reward, behaving as more of a suggestion.
Fate is an offer I intend to reject.
You don't know me. I'm unpredictable, bitch.
I don't need to be a paragon to help save the world.
I came back for a reason, and I am not stopping until I find it.
I will solve the cataclysm, and I'll solve the mystery of myself, too. 4 paragons, 4 keepers, 1 stranger. Huh. Odds are in our favor. Now let's go save Andake.
Content warnings for this episode include fantasy violence, death and killing, blood and bloodletting, trauma and grief, complex and complicated relationships, romance, references to sexual entanglements, cults and cult-like behaviors, curses, manipulation, death of loved ones, loss of limbs, and protests and civil unrest.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Arc 5, episode 15 of The Second Stranger. This is the final episode for the Dabathati party. I am all sorts of emotional about it, and the second to last episode ever of Arc 5 of Transplanar RPG. Dare and see. If you don't stop pretending you're frozen, I swear to God, I'm gonna go to where you are and unplug your Wi-Fi routers. Hi, everyone. I am Connie. I'm the GM and producer, creative producer, executive, whatever, of Transplanar RPG. You can find me on Twitter, TikTok, and buy my games on itch at by Connie Chong, BYCONNIECHANG. You can also toss a coin to your Connie on Ko-Fi for that good con chaos at by Connie Chong on Ko-Fi. I'm gonna pass along introductions up and over to Quinn.
Hello, I'm Quinn, they, she pronouns at Quintastic_ on the Twitterverse. Hate that. Yeah, I play Sitlali, who uses they, she pronouns and has never done anything wrong in their life, except maybe today. Gonna pass it to Dare.
Hi, I'm Dare, at least sources tell me. She, they, they pronouns all work for me. I'm playing Gentle, they, them. Find me on most spots of the internet at Dare to Dream RPG, DARE, the number 2, DREAM. And I will throw it over to Humna.
Yes, hello. My name is Humna, and I use any and all pronouns, and I am a TTRPG performer. You can find me on Twitter at @shahid_, where I talk about all of the different projects that I'm a part of. And today I will be playing Jaron Godler, who uses they, he pronouns. And I will pass it up to C.
Hey y'all, my name is C. I use they, them pronouns. I am a TTRPG performer, digital artist, and producer, and dramaturg, and person who does many things with a ton of hats. Take that as you will. You can find me making very trans, very gay art on the internet at PieSharpArt, and today I am playing your beloved Oka Hien, who also uses they, them pronouns.
So yes, everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is, again, episode 15 of Arc 5 of The Second Stranger. If you don't know what that is the main D&D campaign on this channel, Transplanar RPG, which is, of course, an all-transgender, BIMPOC-led, 100% homebrew Dungeons & Dragons show set in an original non-colonial, anti-orientalist world. We are a grim, dark, gritty fantasy campaign with a lot of queer chaos. So if you like queer people getting into messy relationships with each other in the backdrop of a literal fucking apocalypse happening, tune in Saturdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here, Transplanar RPG. Now that the obligatory channel plug is out of the way, we are very proud to announce, as always, and proclaim that this episode of The Second Stranger is indeed sponsored by @Dimitri Opines on Twitter. That is @DMITRYOPINES on Twitter. We love you, Dimitri, and his firm Explain Trade, which is a negotiation skills training consultancy that believes in the power of D&D and Transplanar's potential to grow, tell great stories, and lift up our community. Big heart emoji over to Dimitri. And if you don't know what that means Explain Trade trains negotiators for government, big companies, NGOs, and offers e-learning courses for individuals looking to get a better deal from their boss. So get proficiency in your persuasion skill and check them out on explaintrade.com. C, why don't you tell folks about our podcast?
Thank you, Explain Trade, for buying all my hats. Just kidding. Hi. Podcast episodes release every Tuesday at the ass crack of dawn. You know it. You love it. We are in the carnival. There is carnage happening. We are so traumatized, in fact. So if you like that, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Music, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you pod your cast. It does really, really help. If you leave us a review, I will look at it and I will screenshot it, and then I will read it when I'm sad and there's not bugs flying around my face. And I will love you for it. So thank you. If you want to get early access to our podcast episodes, you can also join our Patreon. If you use the !patron command in chat, you can learn all about the lovely, lovely, lovely things that we do for our patrons. Lots of stuff is coming up. Lots of stuff has happened. So join our Patreon and have fun with that.
Speaking of our Patreon, a huge, lovely thank you, big kudos to our Patreon paragons. These are patrons pledged to the highest tier on our Patreon. We love you so much. A big thank you to Abigail Reitel, Azura, Brooke Bright, Bradley, Charles, Chiacres, Cora Eckert, Hat MP, Lex Slater, Marvelous, Mitzi, Moonflower T, Purple Mouse, Risa, Rue, Scruffacist, and Target. And as always, a haiku that I wrote in advance this time in dedication of our Patreon paragon. So read along the syllables with Connie here. My haiku for paragons is as follows.
The first time all arc. The first time in this entire arc that you've done it.
Well, I could make it up on the spot if I wanted to, but I prepared this. I prepared this time. It is, what does Adam want? What will become of the hounds? Where will we go next? It's supposed to be like hopeful, not ominous at all.
Why did you read it ominously then?
Dare, tell us about ways viewers can support us.
Well, we have a donation goal and incentives for this stream. Donos are now going towards super fun bonus scenes, and if we hit our goal, we'll unlock a very gay secret backstory scene. Use the !donate command in chat to support our all-trans POC-led cast and keep the clearly very chaotic queer content alive, and hopefully us as well. I'm going to pass it on to Quinn.
All right, buckle up, babies. It's recap time. Previously on The Second Stranger, Gentle brews tea and has a heart-to-heart with Duran, and the two agree to go back home to Morose after business in Dabathati is dealt with. Oka returns from Ravi's funeral and confronts Duran, demanding he kill them if his plan was, in fact, to kill the Paragons. It was not. On Duran's refusal, Oka has Duran make a blood promise. Nothing will come of that, I'm sure. Sitlali uses some of Adam's hair to cast legend lore on him, no big deal. She learns that he's just some guy from 2016 who got isekai'd into Andake. Who knew? He invented crypto and can't afford Monster Energy drinks. I, Sitlali, don't know what those words mean. These are important details. Adam met the Chrysalis upon arrival in Andake and essentially conned his way into becoming who he is now. Fucking amateur. The hounds head to the Aurochs Guild, and after almost a year of carrying Vinash inside them, Oka gives him up and Old Mama Lightning becomes the fully realized paragon of Dabathati. Old Mama Lightning reveals that she was dreamed into existence by her mother, the Aurochs, who was a beholder. Normal. The hounds then head over to confront Sybil and get Bud back, having brought Old Mama Lightning back to the guild. They find them in a lavish, exotic animal playpen, lying on a chaise lounge with Bud at their feet. Yes, this is evil. Yes, this is also incredibly hot. I didn't write that line. Bud throws a teenage tantrum, and Gentle attempts to resolve the situation to little avail, but the dire wolf is reunited with the hounds. On their way out, Oak receives a letter. It does not explode this time. The gnome delivering the letter reveals that protests have erupted across Dabathati in response to the events of the Chrysalis Conference and, Gentle's speech. Oops. The letter is from Adam and requests that the hounds meet him by the animal cages. The hounds decide to go, if only to confront Adam. The hounds regroup in Karishima's garden and have dinner, during which Oka learns that, without Vinash and with the Telian part of their soul, they are vegetarian. And that's what you missed last time. Hamna, read that title for us.
Yes, thank you, Quinn. And as always, the titles of our episodes come from poems written by marginalized creators of all stripes. And today's episode title is It Dreams You, the Empty Sound, from the poem Continuous Installation by Karen Weiser. And the full verse reads as follows. That ringing lines your spinal cord, all synapses play it. Once struck, you need to be only lightly tapped to play it. No one hears it but you. It dreams you, the empty sound, ringing a pressure that coats the air.
Thank you for that, Humna. And now, content warnings for this episode and our campaign may include fantasy violence, death and killing, blood and bloodletting, trauma and grief, complex and complicated relationships, romance and flirting, references to sexual entanglements, cults and cult-like behaviors, curses and manipulation, death of loved ones, and loss of limbs. I'd also like to add probably mass demonstrations, civil unrest, and riots, and protests and whatnot. So use !CW in chat for a full list of these content warnings at any time, and !safety for a look at the cast's lines and veils, so you know what boundaries we're holding for each other and for our streams. So with that out of the way, let's begin. For the final time in this constellation of people. That's right, feel sad. Chaos. Commotion. Confusion. The stony streets of Dabathati, the city of three mouths, capital of Talmud, are packed to their rocky gills with angry civilians. In the district of Saraksha, we see a coal-black tiefling with silver eyes and long black hair hanging in loose waves down to his shoulders. He's one of hundreds, if not thousands, of citizens protesting outside the Adventurers Guilds, demanding answers, specifically about what happened at the Chrysalis Conference not 2 days ago. He holds a sign aloft with a spade-tipped tail, a sign that reads, "Who is gentle?" In the district of Thristi, we see inventors, scientists, scholars, professors out in the streets arguing publicly with each other in front of their laboratories and libraries and with Chrysalis members. We see an elf with brown hair, a smattering of freckles, stubble bristling on her jaw, and an air of immense exhaustion, engaging in furious debate with a green-robed halfling and a apologist, let's say, for the Chrysalis organization. And now we pan over to the district of Vinash, where Daywatch and Nightwatch soldiers are desperately trying to quell a seething crowd of mercenaries, sellswords, adventurers, and amidst this hubble and bubble, we hear someone shout, "Why don't you hire any of us to guard the conference?" And someone else chimes in, are you taking Chrysalis coin? Don't you know their coin is rotten? It sulfurs everything it touches. Yeah. And, just hubbub, and soldiers going, quiet down, and a poor lieutenant's going, I don't know anything, I don't know. Tons of confusion and chaos just clashing in the air, thrumming above the throngs of people taking to the streets here. In a word, Dabathati is tumultuous. And it's amidst this barely contained bedlam, like a pot moments away from boiling over, that we find Oka, Jiran, Sitlali, and Gentle in Karishma Bataval's secret garden. The noise of protest, anger, and confusion is mostly blocked out for the four of you by the peace wards that Consul Bataval erected around this garden in the heart of the Senate House. At this point, it's getting close to midnight, the meeting time that Adam's note suggested. What do the four of you do?
Oka is at the edge of the pond. They kind of have gotten over their disappointing dinner. I think they had whatever vegetarian option that Gentle had cooked for them willingly, but with a frown. Not because of the cooking, but because of the situation at hand. And I think they're kneeling in front of the pond, looking into it. And they take a few handfuls of water and kind of wash their face, these dark circles underneath their eyes. And they start to put on the finest robes that they have, the royal outfit of Sulong that they were coronated in. And they take out these very, very fine, dark black, blue, and silver silks that they start to then drape around their body, up and over. This thin, sheer shirt that comes down over their hands with this little silver detailing threaded through it. And eventually, they look into the water and they murmur, "It uses frozen titties." And the crown that they had disappeared from their head several days ago reappears on their face. These long tendrils, I think, of beads and jewelry hanging down and framing their face. And they lean back on their heels. Gentle? Can I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah, of course. I think I was just mostly probably checking on Bud and slowly trying to get him to talk to me more at this moment. Yeah.
I want you to walk with me.
Of course.
I mean, really, through the street, with everyone. It's gonna be loud. There are gonna be a lot of people and a lot of questions, but I'll be right next to you.
Okay. Is this a mask off event?
I think so.
Okay.
But if you need it, you can have it. Whatever you need.
Okay. I think Gentle's hands are shaking just a little bit, but they sort of start just tensing their, flexing their hands a bit more, just to sort of have a little steady rhythm to go with, and it's not, I'll be okay.
I know. But I think the people need to see you. And they should see you. Because you're their hope, and you're my hope. And people should know that. And I think Oka kind of reaches over and, if you'll allow it, takes your hand.
Yeah.
And they squeeze. Can you feel my pulse?
Yes.
Listen to that. And I think still holding hands with Gentle, Oka stands up and looks over at the other hounds. Are we ready for this?
I think Sitlali comes over and just kind of looks you square in the face. Oka, do you trust me?
Yes.
Good. And then they flip their boot knife around in one hand, prick their thumb, swab a little bit across their own lip, and then some across Oka's bottom lip, if you allow it. And they cast Warding Bond on Oka, which, as long as Oka's within 60 feet of me, they have +1 AC and to all saving throws and resistance to all damage. And anytime you take damage, I will take the same amount of damage. Yeah.
I think as Sitlali like kind of swipes their own blood against Oka's mouth, all 4 of their pupils blow kind of wide, like you like if you shined a light in a cat's eyes and then blipped it away, it goes like their pupils blow out really huge as they, I think, are tasting all of this information about Sitlali's blood type, iron content, like everything, like, and also that emptiness of losing their changeling magic. Kind of like floods their nervous system, and then they blink and look down. Did you just do blood magic?
Did I? And then just kind of go back to whatever they were doing. Actually, no, I know exactly where they go. They go to Mercy. So Lally just kind of looks up at her and is like, if we come to a tussle, you're gonna let me kill him, right?
Obviously. And you see Mercy is sharpening javelins by the fire, right? Like little like bits of like wood coming off onto the earth. But I'll get a few stabs in first, huh?
Mercy, the javelins again.
What? They make me feel grounded? Something to do with my hands?
I know, that's good. That's good. And I think
it's either this or turning to murder. So
I suppose I would prefer this then. And she leans in for a kiss and sneaks her hand around to the greatsword on Mercy's back and casts Holy Weapon.
Ooh! What does that do? What does that look like?
Basically, like, the blade in its sheath just kind of like shimmers with this like purplish pink kind of radiant magic. Until that ends in an hour, it gets an extra 2d8 radiant damage on a hit. And it's magical if it wasn't already. And then I can do fun stuff if I want to on my bonus action, but you know, we'll see if it comes to that.
Cool, yeah. Are you trying to do this without Mercy noticing, or are you doing it like not really caring if she sees?
Not really caring if she sees.
Sure. You reach around her back and you like pull your hand down across the length of her greatsword that's currently in its massive leather sheath, and she turns as this ching 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 like shimmering radiant divine magic sort of shimmers over the sheath. She turns down in surprise and looks at you. What'd you do to her? Something awesome, right?
Very. It'll hit harder, just in case.
Fuck yeah. Any way to make the color like red or like green?
I guess
pink's fine. It's purple and pink are fine. They're great. They're very you. But if it, you know, we're like black.
Okay, wait. That's 3 different colors. Which one? Pick one.
Black and red.
That's 2, babe.
Black.
Is that your final answer?
You had pink and purple. Can you do black and red? Like change one or the other.
Fine. And using thaumaturgy, she will change the color of Mercy's sword.
She's very specific about like making the blade black, but the sheath bright red, you know? She like specifies the tone. And the two of you sort of like talk a little bit by the water. I want to know what Jaron's up to.
Oh my god. Sorry, I'm still processing that whole conversation. Jaron, I think, was looking over the map that he had created of the basement of the Chrysalis building and sort of just committing the last of it to memory, just anxiously going over each hallway, each crevice where all of the offices are, everything. They roll up the map, and when Oka calls out to everybody, they walk over to Oka and Gentle, and they hold out the map to Oka. Do you want to lead us?
Oka takes it without looking at Jaron and passes it to Gentle.
Okay. Am I doing the leading then?
Yes, I think you are, Gentle.
Okay. I got this. So just
you do.
like... Oh.
Just, if you open the map, you will find the cages are marked, and there is a hallway that leads out deeper into the basement by Adam's office. We probably want to avoid that area.
Understood.
And Jaron will just kind of awkwardly, like, their eyes keep going back to Oka as they're talking, but they can't bring themselves to actually address Oka again because the sting of Oka rebuffing them hurts.
I think as you're finishing up the end of your sentence, Oka just starts moving forward and like clips you in the shoulder as they go by, I think.
Yeah. I think it's maybe on that Dr. Lusso, completely not reading the room, says, "Great, I'm glad we're all on the same page here about everything. Shall we get going? It's getting to be quite late and we're nearing the meeting time."
It's time.
And on that, we cut to the four of you, Mercy and Dr. Lusso, traversing the crowded, riotous streets of Dabathati. The orphanage, the repurposed, remodeled orphanage, let's say, that serves as the Chrysalis's headquarters, is in the middle of Saraksha. So you leave through the gate of Saraksha by the Senate House, which is quite close to where the Secret Garden is, because of course, Karishma is the consul of Saraksha. And as you enter out into the city, you are besieged by the sights and sounds and smells of a capital on the precipice of war with itself. It's almost midnight, and yet Dabathati is alive with chaos. You can hear shouting everywhere, like clamoring, like pressing bodies, chanting, right? People arguing with each other, the sound of smattering glass. No violence yet. Like, people aren't attacking each other, but like emotions are boiling over, and that like tea kettle is getting close to whistling. So as the four of you and your friends pass through the streets that are crowded with bodies and fervor, what do you do?
I think Oka and Gentle are walking in the front, or Oka would have led them to the front. And they are just walking like as confidently and clearly forward as possible, letting people see them. Whereas they were like, I don't want anyone to see me at the Chrysalis conference. They are letting their recognizability take note in the crowd, I think, and also for Gentle. And they're still holding Gentle's hand and keeping both of their heartbeats steady, I think. Like literally like using their magic to keep both of their heartbeats steady as they hold hands and walk through the street.
I think, yeah, I am, with the map gives me a very thankful thing I can look down at whenever I feel myself a little overwhelmed with the amount of faces and people I see. But I'm just quietly trying to keep to that rhythm. Oka believes in me. I can do this.
In contrast, I think Jiran has like a dupatta over his face and over their head, trying very much not to be noticed at all here. They're hoping that all of the attention that Oka and Gentle can sort of hone in on it, and that they can kind of fall back into the shadows and follow without really being registered as sort of part of this procession. And he is making sure as well, because he's at this point like memorized that map. He has looked over it so many times because he had nothing else to focus on for the past little while. And so he is also just making sure that like Gentle is able to navigate us correctly to where we're going, and just keeping an eye out on the crowd to make sure that if there's any sign of anybody who might try and like come up to Gentle or like attack them or anything like that, that he is ready to sort of intervene.
And I think Sitlali probably has like one arm through Mercy's, probably between Gentle and Oka and Jiran in the back, keeping an eye on the two in the front. And she also has like a kind of like a almost like white knuckling hurricane, but not quite. And I think there's a moment where, like, you know, her eyes darting, taking everything in, and she just takes a moment, kind of turns towards Mercy and brushes a hand across her own eyes, sort of like as if to get hair out of her eyes, but she's really casting True Seeing on herself, so for the duration, which is an hour, she has True Sight and notices secret doors hidden by magic and can see into the ethereal plane out to a range of 120 feet.
Okay. True Sight.
True Sight.
As you scan the crowd, Sitlali, you see like a lot of like several like objects just sort of pinging everywhere, you know, because it's a big city with lots of magic everywhere. You see certain buildings are lit up completely, either in enchantment magic or illusion magic, right? For wards and illusions. You also see like some people's like swords are glowing, right? You see like Mercy's sword is very much ablaze with magic, but she I think she advocated for a flame decal on her sheath, which is like glowing and sort of moving under your true sight. And you notice a couple of people who have invisibilized themselves in the crowd are visible. Several of them seem to be chrysalis operatives. In the crowd, that you see them like translucent as they're just looking around and keeping an eye on Oka and Gentle. They don't seem to be doing anything. They're not like reaching into their robes for a hidden sword, but they're just being the eyes and ears of the chrysalis, you imagine. And you also see like there's just a miasma of magic, like an aurora borealis above the city itself, just humming and humming and humming everywhere. All different kinds of iridescent colors. You see creatures that you have not seen before without true sight, like translucent, kind of like floating, almost like naga-like creatures that just sort of fly like beneath the ceiling, and even like massive hidden invisible nests, like strung between like big stalactites hanging from the ceiling, like spiders' nests. And you see like spider birds, right, that are sort of like perched upon the nest and catching other invisible creatures, right? Because with true sight, you see like freaking everything. Like you could even potentially see people who are hidden in different planes. With true sight, I think maybe this is the first time you've cast this spell on yourself, right? So you're just taking in, like, it's like you're seeing multiple layers just all revealed. You're seeing shrimp colors here. You look down, and your eyes fall on Dr. Eluso, who I think is, like, striding close to where you and Mercy are. And there's something inside of her. It looks like kind of a shimmering plate of shadow. Like her silhouette looks normal like everyone else's silhouette, but there's almost like a second silhouette inside her that is kind of black. Like someone like did like a crime scene outline of Dr. Eluso and placed it just right inside of her. Almost like it's lead lining within her. With your true sight.
Noted.
I did give your party, Oka, a gem of true sight in Arc 1, and I had this prepared if you decided to look through it to look at Dr. Eluso, but none of you did. But Sitlali now has true sight and is looking around, so this is what you would see. As you all continue to walk, Oka next to Gentle. Oka, I need you to make a charisma check with advantage, given the fact that you're wearing your crown, all the regalia, to see how the crowd responds to you.
22.
22. That is sufficient. Oka, the crowd kind of parts for you, like waves in the wake of a shark, just sort of ballooning open or curtains rising on a main event. No one like goes up to Gentle or like grabs them, etc. Everyone just sort of looks at you, and where you walk, like the arguments like stop and like pause and like turn and look, right? Like a little slack-jawed as like your party passes. And we see like the tiefling with the "Who is Gentle" sign, like sort of like slowly lower the sign like from his tail and just also stare, right? As like Gentle passes by. And like Mercy sort of like leans into you, Sitlali, and mutters, "We're being stared at. We're being stared at."
We're with the Paragon and with Gentle, so what did you expect?
I think, Oka, before you get to the orphanage area, just sort of walking with Gentle, your party, everyone parting for you, someone stumbles in your way at last. One person interrupts your procession. Just a regular-looking person, maybe a halfling with dark skin, some like colored freckles on their face, and like a tuft of like black curly hair. They just look like a completely normal person, very average. Everything about them, dressed in like I think the robes of Dabathati. They bravely step in front of your group. They look actually really scared, like their knees are knocking together a little, and they just go, "You're one of the paragons, right? You're also the hero of Dabathati, and Prince Tien?"
Yes.
"And you're Gentle. I saw you. I was at the conference. I was in the crowd."
Hi, do you need a hand up?
I think everyone here just wants answers. And none of the senators are giving us any answers. None of the Daywatch or Nightwatch soldiers are giving us any answers. None of the adventurers guilds are giving us any answers. And no one knows what's happening, and we just want to know what's going on.
look at Oka first.
Oka looks at Gentle and nods.
The anxiety in my heart. We were there, and Adam was going to hurt a lot of people, and we stopped him, and I mean, I don't have much else. Everything I said earlier was, I think, the truth. The Chrysalis wants to take advantage of people who are a little lost, and we could find each other together. And I give a little smile.
The Chrysalis aren't letting anyone in. Even people that wanted to sign up, people who are asking questions, they're not letting anyone into the orphanage. Is that where you're headed?
Yes.
Well, you heard them, everyone. The hero of Dabathati and Gentle are gonna look for answers for the citizens of Dabathati with the Chrysalis. There's like a swell of like murmur and chattering and people like looking around and nodding. Like you see someone like drop someone else's like the front of their shirt, right? And like nod at this as there's finally a promise of some sort of clarity coming from some group here. And you seem to, I feel like some of the tension in this particular street of Saraksha seems to like lower a little bit. There's still stress, but it's no longer on the verge of bubbling over. And this halfling nods and says, okay, well, everyone, let's just wait. Wait for them to come out of the orphanage and maybe we'll have some answers for Rio.
Thank you.
Thank you. Especially if you finally give us some clarity. This has been such a year for our people. We just want some peace. And with that, the halfling nods and steps back into the crowd, opening the way to the front fence of the Chrysalis orphanage. At the entrance of the orphanage, currently taken over by the Chrysalis, there is a big crowd pressed up against the fence. None of them have broken through it to sort of like storm the orphanage, but there are people like very upset, looking around. We see Chrysalis members like beyond the fence trying to like hold back the crowd, giving non-answers to the questions they're demanding, right? Most of the front garden of the Chrysalis is bereft of people. Seems like perhaps most of the die-hard Chrysalis fans or Chrysalis cult members are in the orphanage proper. Oka, you do, however, notice two particularly familiar and friendly faces in the crowd right by the fence. We see the big, tall orca form of Mama Fish. She's holding a sign that says, "We would just like some answers, please, at some point, perhaps at your earliest convenience." Like the entire sentence is on the sign. And Ibia's sign just says, "Fuck Chrysalis." Not fuck their Chrysalis, just fuck Chrysalis. She's holding it up and is riding Mama Fish's shoulders. And Mama Fish turns, her big like flippers glimmering in the low light of torches nearby, as she makes eye contact with you, Oka, and waves excitedly and nods.
Oh no. Oka makes eye contact with her as well, and I think their face like lights up and then the light immediately dies because they don't know yet. And they nod at them and look forward back at the Chrysalis.
At the front gate, the fence, where there's a hinge for it to open, we all see Grace, the tiefling member of the Chrysalis who seems to be maybe like Adam's right hand or something. She's sort of standing there, like trying to talk down a really angry looking gnome. It's like, can't give any answers at this time. The Imago is a very busy man. Oh, Paragon, hero of Dabathati. Yes, the Imago has been expecting you. Only you may enter. Please, everyone, let's be civil about this. And Grace unlatches the low gate of the fence and opens it to admit your party.
Oka steps through.
Your party strides through the open gate, and Grace hurriedly closes it before anyone else can slip by. Like the gnome is like looking for an angle to get in, and she quickly closes it in his face and lashes it up again. Goes back to like dealing with the crowd. As your party is allowed to stride through the gardens, where we see like a couple of winter plants and vegetables in the middle of being tended to. You see like a watering can that's just sort of been knocked on its side. You see a couple of gardening implements also like just strewn about the acreage here. Perhaps you get the sense that Chrysalis members were minding their own business and then people started asking questions, so they ran inside. You go up. Yes, Lolly.
Does Grace look any different under true sight?
Sitlali, when you look at Grace, she has these like two horns that sort of curve up and like past her head, and under true sight you see I think like cracks at the base of her horns, and you get the sense that maybe like the horns have been repaired, right? Or like her horns used to be cracked off, or she had an injury, but they've been like put back.
Good to see you again, Grace.
Ah, Joy. A pleasure to see you as well.
And Sitlali.
I know. Shall we get going? Up the porch? Yes, Gentle, that's the way to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Then, all right. And Dr. Lusso steps up the stairs, as does Mercy. Your party goes up the front porch, through the front door. You see the interior of the orphanage exactly how you remember it, Jiran, except there's more people on the first floor. There's like a hallway that leads to like a sitting room where you see just tons of Chrysalis members sort of milling about, whispering anxiously in low tones. A couple of the shutters are down, but a couple of them are like peeking through the shutters to like look outside at the crowd. The kitchen is currently bustling with people making, I think, a really late not dinner, but like keeping tea on, right? To keep spirits high, like caffeine going, coffee going, tea going. We see like a set of like stairs that lead up to a second floor and a door cut into the base of the stairs that presumably leads it down to the basement that both V and Jiran went through. What does your party do?
I think once we're inside, for the first time, Oka kind of steps to the side and looks at Jiran, although it is with a kind of cold and stony expression, but expectant.
Jiran is taken aback by Oka's sudden attention, given that they have been ignoring him this whole time, and I think they kind of freeze there for a second before turning to look at Gentle. You have the map. You're leading us, right?
Yeah. Do you mind being up here with me at least? It would feel a little bit easier.
Yeah, I can do that. And Jiran will sidle on up next to Gentle, squeeze their arm a little bit. Just be careful when we go, because we're going to the monster cages, and I'm not sure that they will actually be in the cages when we get there.
Okay. And I will start walking.
Okay, Gentle, you approach the door to the basement, so to speak. Gentle, you turn the knob, it's not locked, and you swing the door open. And your party sees the top of a landing, kind of cramped, you probably have to go down single or double file, a top of a landing and stairs that lead down, 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 down into a murky abyss.
Does anyone have a torch or anything for this?
Oka kind of flexes their hands, and in between their fingers, they cast light. As it kind of just like erupts on their fingertips, and they move it and place the light in your hands.
Okay. Like Gentle is, I think, very clearly anxious by the amount of like, it feels like pressure to them. But they just nod once again very sagely, and they focus on just walking, keeping all of their attention on if anything might jump out. Yeah, and I head down.
Jiran is following close behind Gentle, like keeping very little distance between the two of them, just in case.
I think at the sight of the stairs and the dark, like the utter darkness of them, Sitlali kind of like sways a little and leans harder onto Mercy and pops a sending to Mercy and just says, "Don't let him take me again."
Mercy turns to look at you abruptly as she hears your voice ringing in her head, and you see like the hard lines of her face soften as a gruff voice rings back in your own mind that says, "Never." And with that, your party descends into the abyss. Creaking noises come from the wooden stairs that lead down, 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 down. There are no sconces here, no torches, only the light radiating out of Gentle's palm, empowered by the magic of Oka's soul. This light, I think, is much welcome as it illuminates the way forward by 30 to 60 feet. Eventually, you notice the wooden walls of this basement just transform
kind of has a hard cutoff to stone as we reach like the underground. Like this is like a tunnel drilled like deep into, now you know, like the catacombs of Dabathati underneath the capital. You're getting about as deep as the Aurochs Guild tunneled, if not deeper. Go down the wooden steps. The smell of sweet rot begins to intensify as your boots tread from wood to stone as well. You continue to go down. You get the sense that maybe it's curving or something. This isn't a straight line. It's got like a gentle curve to it, but it goes for a while. And I think all of you can just surmise that this is at least 100, maybe 80, 100 feet underground. It's quite deep, burrowed in there. I mean, Jaron, you'd walked for several minutes, and so does your party now. And then I think, Sitlali, you are the first to notice and to see it. Little pinpricks of light in the distance as you begin to curve around a final corner and reach a landing of sorts. You see tiny little pinpricks of light that are only illuminated by your true sight. There's no other way you'd be able to see it. There are maybe 100, maybe a couple hundred, 100, 200 lights. Most of them are clustered. Like someone like poked holes through fabric and lifted it up to the night sky, like clustered. There's very few of them are alone, but they're mostly in clusters and clumps. And then I think you realize what they are. They're souls. And that's when your party reaches the final landing and the light falls upon this wide cavern that, Jaron, you recognize as the monster cage area. And we just see a vast cavern. The light doesn't hit the ceiling or either of the walls on either side, filled with steel cages on like a very neat grid. And inside the cages, not outside of them, we see empty beasts. They look exactly as you remember, Jaron, writhing, shifting, fleshy masses of shadow with all sorts of limbs stitched and conglomerated onto each other. Some have 4 eyes, some have 1, some have none, some have 10 mouths, some have 2, some have 4 fingers, some have 10. It's just almost like Adam or whoever made these monstrosities grabbed limbs and like faces and heads off of people, turned them into shadow, and then like mashed them all together, right? And then threw them into cages together. And Sitlali, each of the souls are clumped within the soul bags, let's say, of these monsters. There's a couple hundred of them total, at least. And it smells like death.
I think maybe 3/4 of the way down the stairs. I imagine maybe Oka is last coming down. And I think they like pause there for a minute, I think, as they smell this old smell of death and blood, and they like waver for a half a second before continuing down.
When your feet hit the landing last, Oka, all of you hear a voice coming from the darkness on the other side of this chamber, at least like maybe 100 feet away, but his voice echoes through the chamber and almost seems to be magically amplified to reach you. You don't see Adam, but you hear him. Ah, Paragon and your little playthings. Thank you for indulging my request. I wasn't sure if you'd have the nerve to show up.
You know, for a man who's so interested in looks, you have horrible fucking manners.
With that, stepping out of the darkness of the shadows and into the pale, dim light at the very edge, I think, of your magic, Oka. We see his boots first, his leather shoes stepping into the light, and then illuminates, I think, like a green trousers that go up to a perfectly mended suit now. Adam, wearing the same suit, emerald, glittering, crystal clear, that he wore at the conference, but is clearly patched up. He's got his new tie back, and his hair is sleek, right, and like trimmed as usual. His face looks completely repaired. The only sign of the tussle he had with your group are, I think, like bite marks, I think, on his face. Just very faint, but fading away on his face from Sitlali's chomp. Even his hair, the clumps of hair that had been pulled out, seem to have magically come back.
I think as we're there standing by the monster cages, listening to them sort of like growling at us, Jaron starts to get a little bit anxious and looks over at Adam and just kind of blurts out, "What do you want? Why did you invite us here?"
What I want is quite simple, my sweet little dumb traitor. 3,192? No, 93. That's right. 3,193 souls are pledged to me by way of contract. And he opens up his arms and gestures at the monsters. When either these lovely little beasties die or I die, their souls go straight to the chrysalis. And there's no getting them back when they do. What I'm offering is a simple exchange. I'm willing to void these contracts. Set 3,193 people free. And in exchange, you, the Alliance, all of you paragons, all of your little minions, you stop chasing me. I am sick of my plans being disrupted by your interventions. So the next we meet, it will be on the battlefield when Mother comes. Do we have a deal? It's the best one you're going to get.
Why should we trust you to uphold your end of the deal when you couldn't do that with me?
Are you seriously blaming me for your mistakes, Jiran? That's not a very pretty look.
I recognize what I did, Adam. But you promised me Oka's safety, and last I recall, Oka was not safe.
Weren't
after
they?
We spoke.
They're not the one who's dead.
They could have been. And something tells me that's exactly what you wanted.
What? For a non-paragon to die on the stage? You failed me, Jiran. I didn't fail you. I upheld my end of the bargain. I said you simply had to think about it.
And that's what I did, and I woke up with a dagger inside of Oka's chest that is not promising me their life or their safety, Adam.
What your subconscious does is none of my concern. All I asked for you to do, as I say again, was to think about it. And Jiran, this isn't a trigger, but when he says think about it, I think you do, like, you just flash back to the memory of you thinking about it and that horrible time. This isn't him pulling you by some magical trigger word. This is just you remembering. And now that your mind is clear, now that you're no longer under Adam's curse, and you think back to those memories, you see the edges, the details of those fuzzy memories come into clarity. Take, for instance, the dream of you and Oka on a bed, cuddling, being happy. That was one of the images that had flashed through your brain when you were told to think about it. But now that you're looking at it objectively, it's like remembering a dream in full detail. You realize that even in that dream, you weren't happy. Happiness, joy, contentment weren't emotions that were filling you. It was simply the absence of pain. It was simply an empty nothingness as you held Oka.
Upon this realization, Jiran looks at Adam horrified and turns back to look at Oka with this pain in their eyes. And it's like you're looking at a prey animal who's been caught in a trap. Don't take his deal.
How many souls?
3,193 people.
You fucked over my boyfriend. Why would I trust that you would actually let them go?
You can't. And I don't think there's a single arrangement of words in Andakian common that I could string together to make you trust me. I'm not asking for your trust. I'm asking for a deal. What you can believe is that I am sick and tired of being badgered by your party. I can give up 3,193 souls. We can always collect more.
I have a counteroffer. And I think Sitlali steps forward, away from Mercy. Tell me, Adam, Is your little charade here as Imago, as you like to call yourself, going as well as what was it called? Bitcoin?
Adam stares at you. His face doesn't change. I think he always had this kind of like shit-eating grin on his face when he was talking to you, but the grin looks particularly plastered on when you drop that word in common. He looks at you and he just says, "Where did you hear that word?"
Out of your mouth.
His eyebrows furrow in confusion for like a hot second.
Do you not remember on the beach where the chrysalis almost ate you? And Sitlali is advancing slowly on him.
As you do, like, the cages rattle a little bit as, like, the empty beasts press themselves up against the bars and like reaching their arms and limbs through it to try to grab at you, but they're too far away, right? They just sort of like surge up as you approach him. My. Sitlali Thornheart, you are full of surprises, aren't you?
I'm one of the best. And you, Adam, I get the sense that you weren't really anybody before you got here, were you? And I get the sense that if the stranger weren't pumping her magic through your veins, that you'd be nothing here. So, tell me, is it good to be someone? To feel like a big man, Adam? Finally.
You little. And the word that comes out of his mouth is not in a language any of you understand. It sounds like gibberish. But you get the sense it's not very nice.
I understand all spoken language. I'm deeply curious.
All spoken language, I don't know. I think, yes, all spoken language in your reality.
Fine, we'll allow it.
So I don't know how Gentle would, like, just canonically, I don't think it would make sense. So Gentle, you know that you know every single language that's been spoken in Andake, and maybe even some of the languages of the gods, right? Like you are aware of them. The word or phrase or whatever that Adam utters doesn't ping. It's completely not of this world.
So, my counteroffer. You release the souls, and we keep your fucking secret.
There are worlds of information that none of your tiny little minds could hope to comprehend, even if you had 1,000 years to live and 1,000 years on top of that to die. Fine. I void the contracts. You keep my secret. Do we have a deal?
I don't know, Oka, do we?
I trust my second.
Fine. Then we shake on it. And Adam holds out a hand.
Sitlali, don't.
Don't shake. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it, I guess.
Adam, like, breathes out really heavily, and you can see him doing the calculus in his cold blue eyes. Let his secret be endangered or lose this many souls. He's like doing the math, he's weighing the scales in his head, and then he eventually reaches a conclusion. He retracts his hand, like uses the same hand to sort of like brush his hair back out of his face and pull himself straight, and he says, "Fine, then I'll just have to take your word for it." And as he's speaking, he's beginning to back away into the shadows, and he's raising his hands up. And all of you feel the weave in this room begin to tense a little bit, and like the monsters begin to writhe as he's starting to do something to them and to the souls.
I'm gonna follow him into the darkness.
Okay.
Again.
Okay.
I would like to find his cheek with my hand, and I'm going to need him to make a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. Against what? What are you blighting him?
This is a different spell called Contagion.
Schnarsty, okay, what does it do?
Let's see. If he fails, then he gets a little disease of my choice. And my choice is Rot, which is, the creature's flesh decays. The creature has disadvantage on charisma checks and vulnerability to all damage for, 7 days.
Oof. Okay. He definitely failed because I rolled really low for him. So what does it look like as you reach into the darkness and touch his cheek?
I think the last time they had a similar interaction, Sitlali's confidence was very fake. And this time it's very, very real. Because the people that she needs are right behind them in case anything goes wrong. And I think she just kind of roughly takes his cheek and digs a thumbnail into it and just says, "Remember that you're nothing, there or here. You taste worse than insignificant to me." And then kind of drags their thumbnail down his cheek and turns and walks away.
Ooh, I love that, Sitlali. You punch your nail into his cheek. He flinches when you do that. He wasn't expecting you to follow him into the shadows, and you drag it down, and there's just a line of red blood that opens up, almost like a blooming flower, like down the length of his skin. He lets out a horrific sound, even as he clenches his fists, and like the weave around the souls within the empty beasts like snaps. He pulls his fists down as you see blood just begin to bubble on his face, and like blisters and horrifying welts begin to open up. And with your true sight, Sitlali, you, for this entire exchange, have seen Adam for how he actually looks. Exactly like you remember from the vision of him. This kind of wilted, not very attractive looking dude with kind of limp golden hair. You see that everything else is an artifice, is illusion magic. Really good illusion magic, but still illusion magic. And he reels backward, right, pulling his fists down. And all of you see the empty monsters, the little blobs, they just sort of like let out a horrible cacophony of bubbling and pustuling, like you're at the rim of a volcano and hearing the magma bubble, like as they disintegrate. They slough off into puddles of black goo that sizzle against the steel and begin to like melt the rebar, right? Like this toxic black sludge. And Sitlali, you see the souls release, not into the nothing plane or into emptiness or into wherever else that empty souls go when they're eaten, but they shoot up like through the ceiling, and you can feel them like traveling down the snapped bands of the weave back toward their original destinations. So it seems Adam kept his word. It seems like he actually kept his word, and he is releasing the souls back to where they belong. And the last thing, he reels away from you, cupping his face, right? And then he pulls his hand back and sees some of his own flesh, like, stuck onto his hand, and lets out a horrific, rage-filled scream. He turns and rips a hand through the blackness behind him, opening a tear into the nothing. And you see a darkness darker than even the blackness of the shadow you're standing in widen. And you feel like all the weave and the magic and the light and the life and the breath in this room start to get vacuumed toward it, but it's much smaller than the portal he ripped open at the chrysalis. And he looks at you, Sitlali, like cupping the bottom of half of his jaw that's now starting to show skeleton and bone and teeth. And he just says to you, "This isn't over." And he tips backward into the nothing plane, and then zips up.
Sitlali kind of crumples at that and leans very heavily on their cane and lets out a breath they've been holding.
Taran runs forward and like tries to like catch Sitlali with one hand. Sitlali, are you okay? What did he do?
He didn't do anything. I'm just tired, Taran.
At that, Mercy runs forward as well. She catches up and sort of like bodily shoves Jiran out of the way of like holding on to Sitlali and holds her instead. Sitlali, hey. Do you need anything? Massage? Food? Water?
Can you carry me this time?
Yes. Bridal style?
Do it, babe.
Okay. She like sweeps a hand under your knees and pulls you up, right? And says, all right, Mercy Taxi on her way. And like turns around, right? And sort of like walks back toward where Oka and Gentle and Dr. Luso are, careful to like step over the puddles of noxious goo that are dribbling out of the steel cages. And the smell's starting to get real bad. It smells like burning plastic, right? Like real gross smell starting to fill this space.
Time to go, Hounds. And Oka's going to wait at the base of the stairs to do something as everyone, I think, heads up, unless anyone wants to do anything else down here.
Not in the goo pit. I think we're all ready to get out of the goo pit.
Yeah, I would like to, as always, as is my way, misuse a spell. It's my favorite thing to do, I think. This spell is called Blood Burn. And since this goo stuff is empty monster blood, I'm going to light it on fire to make this whole place burn down. That's what I want.
I think you do it.
Oka looks at Sitlali kind of as Mercy is bringing them up the stairs. Good job. Sorry in advance. And they grab their wrist, because I have to lose HP for this spell. And their tattoo that they have their like rite of flame on, the same thing kind of starts happening. The tattoo looks red hot, like it starts to like burn up underneath their skin, and they like are concentrating. This like little bit of blood runs down their nose, and they hold until I think the rest of the blood like starts to bubble, and then it all lights on fire. And we, Sitlali, you and I, are going to take 16 points of damage for this spell, as Oka lights the blood in the basement on fire.
This all-consuming darkness that was sort of encroaching its way, folding its way like tenebrous waves of ocean water, like in this cavern, suddenly explodes in light as fire, right, like just immediately ripples across it like it's an ocean of oil, and you just dropped a lit match on top of it, right? And we just see everything about this. We see how tall the ceiling is. It's maybe 40, 50 feet tall. We see like all of the cavernous edges of it suddenly like glow into sharp relief. And the last thing you all hear before they too get engulfed in the roaring of the flame are the screams and wails of the monsters that have not completely quote unquote died yet, but now definitely are fucking dead or dying as the fire eats through their gooey flesh and climbs up with like claws of flame toward the ceiling. And Oka, you just look at this destruction, you smell this like scent of burning plastic, acidic and rough within your nostrils, and you go. And on that, let's cut to a break. So we will be back in 10 minutes. Enjoy the fan art reel, enjoy the croon music, and when we come back, it will be the final hour of the Dabathati party ever in Arc 5. So big cry emoji, and we're excited to wrap up Arc 5 here at the Hounds. So see you in 10. We love you so much. Bijo, babadoo.
a little bit different from everybody, but not a lot different. They keep statues of execution to herald their spirit. You keep secret pictures of dead people in your underwear drawer because you find it erotic. You are a little bit different from me, but not a lot different. I hide in my blood, and you want to drink it. And I want you to drink it. Because you are made of food that I cannot eat. Because I am made of food that I cannot eat.
was from a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dancing. I learned to swallow light, to illuminate my darkness. I learned to feel love when I look upon my dark things. I learned this from a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dancing. I learned to swallow light, to illuminate my darkness. I learned to feel love when I look upon my dark things. I learned this from a witch who was born of many gender. I learned to see a light. I learned to watch it glitter. I learned a secret from the light. I learned to watch it dancing.
Content warnings for this episode include fantasy violence, death and killing, blood and bloodletting, trauma and grief, complex and complicated relationships, romance, references to sexual entanglements, cults and cult-like behaviors, curses, manipulation, death of loved ones, loss of limbs, and protests and civil unrest.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Arc 5, Episode 15 of The Second Stranger. This is going to be the final time that we have with the Hounds and Dabathati before we wrap up Arc 5 for them. So, let's just jump right into it, yeah? Let's just get right back into it. Oka, Sitlali, Jaran, and Gentle, Mercy, and Dr. Aluso, your party runs up this spiraling staircase of stone that eventually transforms into wood. The smell of smoke, black fire, the roiling roar of the flames licking their way up the staircase, following you, nipping at your heels. And I think your party dumps out onto the top landing, the main door bursts open, and you all spill out into the corridor, where we see thin streams of smoke following you out into the main house of the orphanage. What do you all do?
I think Sitlali concentrates and then looks for any bit of rock and solid stone that they can in this passageway up, and cast Stone Shape to try and block the entrance to the basement so no one can ever go down there again.
I love that. I think you're able, maybe you're the last person out, you turn around right after Oka runs past you to face this yawning crevice of just smoke and darkness and the barest hint of flame at the bottom of the throat of this entrance into the basement. And you pull on the weave. You feel little minerals, granules of rock and crystal, built into the floor and the dirt underneath it. And you grab onto where the wood part of the descent into the basement meets the stone part of where it turns into the underground. And I think you don't see this because you're too far up, but we as the audience, we shoot back down through the smoke to see this rock punch outward from the walls and knit shut. So Sitlali, you're successful. You shut off, right, any way of anyone getting back down into that basement of fucking horrors. And this is to say that the fire has already reached the wooden part of the staircase and continues to eat and hungrily devour its way up the panels.
Yeah, I think Oka wastes no time. They've kind of dropped the princely facade they had as they were coming in. They're going down hallways, tearing doors open, yelling fire. And just pulling people out by the scruffs of their clothes and throwing them into the hallway, going down and making sure that everyone gets out of the building before it burns down.
Yes, I think Dr. Aluso and Mercy also do that. As smoke begins to fill the first floor and then filter up through to the second floor, all of your nostrils burn with the heat of it, maybe you're coughing a little bit, right? And blackness and it's stinging your eyes. All of you manage to, with your collective efforts, I think, get everyone who's alive inside the orphanage out, right? And there's a moment where we hold on the front facade of the orphanage, and then we see the front doors burst open, the door almost falls off its hinges as Mercy bull rushes it and
like a massive gout of smoke comes out from the front. The fire has reached the second floor, and the heat of it explodes, I think, the windows up front, like eyes pouring fire now, like flames coming up. It's going up like a fucking icicle on Adolin and Morose, because I think it's a tradition, it's a Morose tradition to douse stalagmites of ice in oil and then light them on fire to like welcome in the new year. It just fucking goes up like a Morose icicle, right? All of you pour out onto the front lawn and people start stumbling and coughing and like falling to their hands and knees. And like the congregations of people who are protesting, like beyond the fence, they like stop talking. They go, whoa. They're like looking up at this like house going up in flames because you were like, we're gonna talk to people. And then you come out running and screaming and like the house is on fire, right? But at this stage, before chaos can descend again, Sitlali, you, and I think you alone probably, of your party, notice coming out of the dirt underneath you, the souls that Adam had released. They look like the thin tails of fireworks, like going up into the air before they explode into a crescendo of bloom. You see different colors, red, blue, green, orange, cerulean, pink, lavender, just shoot up and then shoot toward specific people. Every single member of the chrysalis that was in the orphanage has a soul that shoots back into their bodies, right? We see like a brown-skinned elf who had like fallen face down into a bed of petunias, like trying to like push themselves back up. Their blue soul like shoots back into their body through the back of at the small of their back, and they gasp and they go, what? But wait, but monsters, but the contract, and there's like very similar moments of like realization and awareness happening all throughout the garden and all throughout the people congregated in the crowd. We see a pink soul lance its way through the air and shoot into Grace, who was in the middle of saying, everyone calm down, I'm sure there's a perfectly reasonable reason for why the Imago would blow up the... Wait, what? But I... And she like braces her hand against the fence as like her full agency returns to her. Everything she's been prevented from saying because of signing the contract becomes uncorked, right? Like realization and awareness floods back into her eyes, and a sob just racks Grace's body as she falls to her knees and like holds onto the fence for purchase. This is happening all over, like everywhere you can see. In Sitlali, you see bands of souls like shooting like from the orphanage to like various different places in Dabathati as well.
And I think Oka just starts helping people up, getting them resituated, right? Taking them to med wards if they need to go to med wards, reconnecting people with like where they're actually supposed to be.
I really love that. And I assume the rest of you do the same, right? You help like quell people's anxieties and confusion about what the hell's happening. And I think we see a really sweet montage of all of you, like putting blankets over people who are in shock. Like we see like Dr. Aluso talking to a group of people, like led by the inquisitive halfling that stopped Oka, like explaining exactly what had happened. We see Oka diverting people toward med wards, right? Some commoners, some people in the crowd, like step up to the plate. Like they also help, like bring people to shelters and like give people food, and like tea is procured out of nowhere, coffee is procured out of nowhere, like hot drinks are passed around, and like the tension that had reached a boiling point and was about to spill over is brought back down. The flame has been lowered, ironically enough, as the orphanage goes up in flames, right? That actually seems to calm people down, right? And I think an image we get before we cut to the next scene is of all four of you, Anne Mercy and Dr. Aluso, going through the crowd, answering their problems, like addressing their questions and their fears, and helping the chrysalis members, like sort of like reintegrate a little into their daily life.
And I think at some point, like in the night, maybe, I don't even think we like hear the conversation that they have, but Oka goes over to Mama Fish and Ibia, and I think we just like see their mouth move, and then they kind of like just pull Ibia, who is in fact an inch taller than them, like just like into their arms for a tight hug.
Yeah, like amidst all the people moving around, there's like a break in the bodies where we see Oka come up to Mama Fish and Ibia. And there's a look of shock on both of their faces, and without even, waiting for a response, Oka, you pull Ibia into a hug. And then we just see Ibia sort of like collapse against Oka. Mama Fish's like face like darkens and narrows, and she also steps forward and hugs both of you. And I think for a really long time, the three of you just hug, as like Ibia's like, I think screaming sobs are like muffled against Mama Fish's hug, as well as Oka's hug too. And like a person passes by the scene and like cuts it away to a sheaf of papers slamming onto a desk. A blue-skinned hand slamming on top of the sheaf of papers. We travel up the length of this robed arm to see the hammer-headed, disappointed, frustrated-looking gaze of Karishma Bataval, Consul of Saraksha. They're sitting in their big chair, and behind them is a conference call going. We see the ghostly forms of each of the members of the Alliance of the Eight behind them. Almost like projected silvery illusions, right? From the massive scrying bowl mounted behind their desk. And Karishma Bataval is saying to like all of you, chaos, disorder, confusion, a city on the verge of rioting, the likes of which we'd never seen since Adolin.
I think Duran kind of steps up a little bit awkwardly at this. Consul, if I may, none of this is a reflection on Prince Hien's actions. They didn't know about... I will take responsibility for a lot of what has happened, and it wasn't their doing, it wasn't their plan. In fact, a lot of the protests were quelled largely in part because of Prince Hien, and really, I think you have them to thank for the resolution of the whole thing.
Do I now? Because I have 7 extremely important people behind me right here who are, of course, the people you are supposed to answer to, wondering why my city literally went up in flames.
Well, normally subtlety is more our style, but that sort of went out the window when the chrysalis kidnapped me and threw me into the nothing plane.
Yes, my sympathies for what you went through, Sitlali, but subtlety is necessary. The people, nay, not just the people, the leaders, and they gesture to the people behind them, need to know that we can count on heroes who can persevere no matter what. Not whatever you did with the fog at the conference, at the pronouncement to the people, Karishma gestures to Gentle, which stirred up a lot of angry feelings. The fleeing of the scene, might I reiterate, one of our orphanages going up in flames.
I wouldn't exactly say that it was your orphanage anymore.
No, it was, of course, the hideout for the chrysalis, but it had historic importance to the city. This is still my city. I wish you would have asked permission before setting one of our buildings on fire. You don't have to raise your hand here, you can just speak.
With all due respect to everyone listening, time was kind of the essence between kidnapped party members and the exploding mail. It wasn't easy to have time to really think and plan. We did the best with what we had.
Karishma leans back, like, down into their seat and sort of turns, so they're halfway facing the glowing members of the Alliance and halfway facing you. And we see them in full relief now. We see on one end Toktoa Kagan, who's standing there, arms crossed over a half plate, like draped in like hide and leather armor, right? Ponytail up, like not like shaking their head and frowning a little bit. We see Oka's dad, mom, mother, father, sat behind what appears to be a desk, regal flowing robes on, like a big crown, and they're just staring impassively. Their mismatched eyes have not left Oka's this entire time. We also see Lord Henka Oju, the Great Uniter, right, the leader of the tribes of Jukai. She also seems to be sat behind a desk and is sipping at some tea, right, that someone off screen has brought onto her. We see just hands come in and like some tea and she's sipping, like her white painted face betraying no emotion or like no, like you don't really know what she's thinking at all, like big coiffed black hair. And we also see Kane, who is not really paying attention to what's happening. They're throwing knives off screen, right? And this entire time they've just sort of been muttering to themselves and just going, Xiaohu, I wish you would stop moving. If you don't want me to clip your tiny little baby ears, stop moving. And keep the apples on your head, as they're like tossing the knives off screen. Karishma turns and looks at the Alliance, and Toktoa goes, I'm sure all of you are under a lot of stress, believe me.
the Paragon that was sent to me was under a lot of stress as well, but they left a couple of days ago and they were able to tie things up without blowing up any of our structures.
And I think Oka has been taking this conversation like a champ. They've been like just sitting there and taking like 15 minutes of Karishma Badaval like going through the itemized list of all the fuck-ups that are their fault, even though it was their boyfriend's fault. And they really have just been just taking it like a champ. Oka 1 year ago would have really just absolutely blown up, probably literally this room. But I think they're really just they're taking it, and they say kind of with a strained, because they're getting to the edge of their patience, I think. Strained, I remind you that if we had the necessary support from the council to begin with for this mission, maybe we wouldn't have had a kidnapped cleric or paragon in the first place. But now everyone is safe, and I apologize about the building. I thought it better that nobody ever go there ever again.
I think at this, the council mutters to each other. Like, you see Duchess Starwing, right? Mercy's like very much averting her gaze, right? As like the Duchess is there, like lean in to like whisper something to like Princess Kakoa, like the youngest member of the council, who's like nodding and like listening and thinking, like, and we see like Lord Henka Oju lean in to Toktoa and like mutter something like behind like a fan, and Toktoa like nod with like her arms crossed. Oka, your father is the one who speaks up actually and says, I have enough faith in your intellect, Paragon of Sen, to make the assumption you are not blaming the Alliance for lack of resources as to the outcome of your endeavors here?
Oh, this is horrifying. No. But a clarity of information is always appreciated during briefings. There were a few components of this mission that were unclear to us that affected the clarity of our mission.
Well, I know as well as anyone the importance of knowledge, wisdom, information when it comes to guiding decisions. And at that, Karishma clears their throat a little bit because they were the one who had withheld the information from the council. They turn and I think what we're trying to get to here is just a reassurance, and like pivots their chair fully to all of you, that the Paragon of Sen and your, what was it? Hounds? Dogs?
The Hounds of Mercy.
Yes, and your Hounds of Mercy answer to the Alliance, not the other way around. Yes?
Of course. I would also like to clarify that they're not my Hounds of Mercy. I'm their Paragon.
Mercy just goes, damn right. And Duchess Starwing just rolls her eyes and looks off to the side. Karishma nods, swivels on their chair, looks up at the ghostly forms of the council. Well, does that reassure all the members of the Alliance here? And there are nods, I think, like around all of their like illusory forms. Good. Well then, thank you for attending this emergency briefing. I appreciate it very much. I'm sure you all have very busy schedules to go to, and okay, they're gone. And I think Toktoa had already zapped out, like on the goodbye of the Zoom call, you know what I mean? And with that, like several other people start zapping out. Like we see Duchess Starwing zap out, but before she does, we see their child come into frame with like a bundle of scrolls, like this half-orc, half-elf child come in, right? Like half-drow, like with like little tusks and like little tuft of like reddish hair through the silver illusion with some scrolls, because their child's also like a leader in the court, right? So they look like very professional. They're holding scrolls up to the Duchess before they zap out. And on that, Mercy just sort of goes, wait, but then like more of them zap away, and I think one of the last people to zap away is the Emperor. They lock eyes with Oka and they just go, well done. And they zap, like shimmer out of existence. And Kane is the absolute last person to leave because they have not been paying attention this entire time. They continue to throw knives off screen, producing it from more and more ridiculous areas, like underneath their sleeves, like behind their back, like from a boot. And then we just hear like an off.
Darling. Kane.
Oh, is it over? And while looking at you, they throw a knife, and we hear like, "Ah!" Like from off screen, they go, "Oh, Xiaohu, come on! It's not even that big of a gash. It's just your shoulder. Good talk, or I'm sorry, whatever makes sense for the situation." And they blow a kiss to you, Oka, and to you, Jaron, too. And then they zap out.
Thinks that Lolly leans over to Mercy and goes, "I know I was a little distracted when we were at the court, but did you and Duchess Starwing..."
We were lovers. Yes, were is the operative word there.
Is that your kid?
No. No way.
Mercy, did you ask about it when you were there?
Why would I ask about it? I mean, if they were my kid, don't you think the Duchess would have told me when we were there? And she didn't, so...
Yeah, but the court's kind of like that. Have you noticed the cryptic where we can't really help it?
So, Lolly, I'm not ready to be a dad. I'm not
ready to be a step-parent.
We pan back to Karishma, who like swivels her chair like back to the hounds and Oka. And like the look of disappointment and frustration actually just completely slides off of their face. And they're all business again. And they actually raise a hand, and we see like a quill that had been floating in the air writing on a scroll like pauses and then gently floats back down onto a desk. They say, "Off the record, thank you. I hope you understand I had to preserve some egos with my display of admonishment back there. I had to soothe some hurt feelings, reassure the Alliance, of course, of their prominence in saving Andake. But I personally, I thank you. All of you. I think you all did the absolute best job you could have done considering the circumstances, and I am deeply grateful for you running the Chrysalis out of town, frankly. Their reputation is in tatters. We've set up deprogramming sessions for all affected members of the Chrysalis, therapy hotspots. I was able to pass a bill, actually, during an emergency session of the Senate last night. Turns out, when the Imigo's gone and their coffers have run dry, the other consoles are a lot more pliable to my suggestion of setting up soup kitchens and shelters for displaced peoples here, which is what the Chrysalis had been doing, but because of bureaucracy, it was harder for us to act. So they seized the opportunity. I can take the rebuilding of Dabathati from here, and I have all of you to thank for your perseverance, your efforts, and she turns to you, Oka, your sacrifices.
Yeah, don't worry about the meeting thing. I have been admonished by world leaders since I was 7, so no big problem there.
I figure it relevant to tell you as well that Mama Fish has been named the new foreman of the mines. So you can rest assured knowing that Ujval is under good hands. And I have put the miners' demands at the top of my priority list instead of the bottom.
Thank you.
It's the least I can do. All right then, Oka, the Hounds of Mercy, I'm sure all of you have plenty of work you have to do to tie up your business here in Dabathati. Feel free to keep camping out in my backyard.
Okay. There's not a wolf there right now, by the way.
I'm sure there's not. And if you could not hang your laundry on the branches of the trees there, all of the trees are rare. They are endangered, as are the bird specimens. And Mercy just blanches.
Mercy.
And she like leans into you, Sitlali, and says, "Fuck, I think I killed one of the toucans. It was just looking at me really aggressively."
Babe, why would you do... It's just a toucan.
I don't like its beak. It was too big.
Not bigger than your biceps.
Oh, thank you. But I think it's dead.
We'll see.
And we like pan back to Karishma. She nods. Right. Anything else you need to ask me before we adjourn?
Not ask, but and Duran will unfurl the map to the Chrysalis orphanage and hand it back gingerly to Karishma Bataval.
Ah, so that's where that went. And she like takes it back and says, I hope you know you're directly responsible for me firing an aide. She like looks at your your notes on the map and flips it around and flicks her eyes back up at your party. I will leave whatever interpersonal conflicts you have about the outcome of whatever happened during the conference between the 6 of you. Thank you for returning this, if belatedly.
And about that aide, they could probably get their job back, right?
They cussed me out when I fired them, so I don't think I'll be rehiring them.
Right. Well, I'm sorry again about taking that. Maybe it will be of use building a new orphanage.
Perhaps. Thank you. And she like tucks like the map like underneath the desk, but all of you hear like paper crumpling, and then she tosses something that hits a waste bin.
Good election year, Consul.
Thank you. Yet another stressor on the pile of growing stressors I have, but the Chrysalis's reputation is gone, and I finally feel like Dabathati can turn a new leaf.
We'll be in touch. And I think Oka gets up.
She nods, and she like stands and like holds out an arm for you all to like leave and presumably go back to the front yard that you're camping out in front of. Like she's got like her window's right there and she can see it. Like she'll just pivot and like see all of you in the garden, right? Right. And we cut on that scene. We open back on Karishma Bataval's secret garden, where we see, I think, a scene of, for Mercy at least, kind of grim packing up, rolling up her bedrolls, pulling stakes out of the ground, like kicking dirt over the perforations in the ground that she caused with the tent poles, casting a wary gaze over the shimmering water where Dr. Aluso is putting final touches on the teleportation sigil to make sure it maps back to their cottage instead of somewhere completely random from the cracked sigil Oka caused. Amidst this garden, we just see palm fronds. We hear the chittering of now aware of endangered birds and insects. We smell pollen drifting through the air. A little escape, a little enclave of summer amidst the dark and cold winter that has iced and rimed down deep into the stalagmites across the rest of Dabathati. So amidst this secret garden, I'd love to go to perhaps Duran first to see what you're up to.
Duran is carrying a wooden javelin, very, very poorly made, that they have made themselves. I tried to whittle, very little success, but it vaguely looks like what a javelin is supposed to look like. It's hard to whittle a javelin with one hand when you have recently just now suddenly become left-handed. And so he walks up to Mercy, who I imagine is just kind of like packing up, and he just holds out the javelin. Mercy, can we talk?
Mercy straightens from the tent she's been like folding up and turns to look down at you.
I wanted to apologize to you. We haven't had a chance to talk yet since Ravi, and I know she meant a lot to you, so and they kind of stick out the javelin even further.
She looks down at the rough carving of the javelin and takes it from you, and she turns it around and considers it. Did you put like a lot of effort and heart into carving this javelin?
Yeah, Duran spent a lot of time on it, which is maybe not apparent from the way it looks, but
I think it's pretty obvious, like she can tell. She looks down at this javelin and then looks over at you. Is this an apology?
The start of one, I think. Or at least I hope. I know that I can't exactly just do one thing and make up for what happened, but I do want you to know that I'm sorry, Mercy. I can't imagine losing someone as close to me as Ravi was to you I can't even begin to think about what it would take to earn your forgiveness, whether I even deserve it, but I want to try.
Mercy's chest inflates as she breathes in and then breathes out. And she looks down at you and she says, "Thank you for saying that, Duran. I actually really appreciate it. That actually really does mean a lot coming from you. And I can tell you put a lot of effort into carving this, even though it looks like absolute garbage." And she like sort of tucks it into her pack, actually, almost gingerly, almost gently. And she says, "I don't think I'm ever going to get over Vravi's death or how it happened. But what you're saying to me now does help me feel a little bit better. And Duran, I genuinely mean this. I hope you get better. I hope you're able to figure out a way forward from all of this that doesn't hurt other people and doesn't hurt you. I hope you're able to grow. I really, genuinely do. And I hope you know that I really do care about you. And I love you. Duran, you're fired from the Hound."
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. I love you too, Mercy. Even after all of this.
Yeah. I know. And she turns and walks away from you. And I think maybe, Sitlali, I think you overhear this. You're the second. Wherever you are nearby, you definitely hear and see this.
And I think Sitlali comes over and just quietly to Duran goes, "For the record, it was my idea to fire you first, before everything. So, technically that should have come from me, but I'll let her have it. She needs it more than I do right now."
I feel like Mercy's reasons for firing me makes more sense than yours did, Sitlali, but...
Oh, really?
And Duran is just like laughing a little bit. Sitlali, I'm gonna miss you.
So back to Morose, yeah?
Back to Morose with Gentle. Where are you going to be going?
Oh, you know. Mercy hasn't told me yet. I think maybe she's planning something. I don't know. But Morose will probably be far, though.
Not too far for a letter?
Or a message.
Or a message.
Listen, the stuff I told you, that's between us, yeah?
Yeah, I haven't told anybody, and I don't intend to. I figure that's not something you want other people knowing just yet.
No, it would be good to, let them know myself rather than secondhand, I think.
Yeah, I can speak from experience. If you don't tell them first, things kind of blow up. Literally.
So they do.
Hey, Sitlali.
Yeah, Duran?
Thank you for the tent, for talking to me, and for everything, really. And I don't think I've said this yet, but I'm sorry about what happened between us before Oka showed up, I mean.
Sitlali takes a moment to take all of that in. I should have sent those fucking letters, huh?
I didn't send mine, so I get it.
Maybe we can send some letters now, though.
Maybe we can. If that's something that you still want to do.
Is it something you want, Duran?
I do. I do.
Okay. Letters it is.
Letters it is.
For the record, I do still have one free stab on you, per Mercy, of course.
Duran starts backing up at this. Sitlali.
I could do it now.
Or you could not do it.
I suppose I owe you one. Next time I see you.
Yeah, I would love to see you again, Sitlali, but reconsider the stab, maybe.
I mean, like, the agreement was non-vital areas only, so, like, I can heal you. That's, like, my thing.
That doesn't make it better, Sitlali. You're still going to stab me. Do you hear what you're saying? Do you hear the words that are coming out of your mouth right now?
I think I'm turning a little bit into Mercy, huh?
You two do spend a lot of time together. It's cute, actually.
Nothing I do is cute, Gerard.
Then Gerard blushes a little bit. Sure.
Why do you disagree?
I think that underneath your ruffled feathers, there is... Yeah. You're cute, Sitlali.
Gentle. Actually, I'm gonna cut in gentle. Do you think this is when you perhaps maybe make an arrival on the scene? Maybe go on.
I will. Hi, everyone. Sitlali. Dron, do you mind if I could talk to Sitlali for a second?
Yeah, go for it. And Gerard will exit.
Hi.
Hey.
It's gonna be really weird to be without the rest of the hounds and Moreaus.
Yeah, Gerard got fired.
What?
Yeah, Mercy just fired him.
Am I gonna be the only hound in Moreaus?
For now. We don't have to tell. I mean, don't like tell everybody else. You know, like. I mean, maybe do like a little bit.
Am I in charge of like the Mosey section of the hounds now?
And Sitlali thinks. Yes, you are.
Okay. Am I allowed to add hounds at my own discretion?
I'll have to talk to Mercy about that, but probably.
Okay. Anyway, I wanted to also give you a care package for when we go.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's gonna be a little like essentially like a little basket of like different teas and like medicinal balms and stuff that I've made. Just in case, because I don't know exactly how long I'll be gone. I want to make sure that you have stuff to remind you of us.
Us being,
I guess, me and Bud and well, I guess not Drum anymore, but us being, I guess, me.
You and
me and you. I just want to make sure you're able to take care of yourself and you can have some tea that can help you relax and make sure you're okay. I know you care a lot about everyone, and I just want to make sure you're safe too.
That's really sweet, Gentle. God, wait, do I have to be the moral compass of the hounds now that you're leaving?
And maybe on that horrifying realization, perhaps is that when Oka, you find these two talking?
I think Oka has a few of their things, and I think they're actually coming out of... They didn't have their own tent. They were sharing Geron's tent, and they hadn't slept in it when they were holding vigil over Ravi, but all their shit was in there, so I think they come out of Geron's tent, specifically when they were not in it, with their stuff kind of like slung over their shoulder, and they're like, oh, Gentle, did you make any more of those, what were they, like roasted squash things? I'm sorry, am I interrupting something right now?
Lily is like crimson red.
Is something wrong with you? So, Lily, are you okay? Something's wrong with your face.
No, my face is fine. No, my face is fine. Okay, my face is fine. I'm just gonna. And then she just like walks in a direction.
Gentle, something was wrong with Sitlali's face. I've never seen that.
Anyway, Gentle's just gonna run past it. Did you hear about Jerron getting fired?
Oh.
Yeah. Mercy, I might be able to get him rehired on a technicality, but we'll figure that out. But unrelated, I wanted to make sure I gave you a gift, since I won't be with most of the hounds. And it's a basket similar to the one Gentle made for Sitlali. Maybe for some reason, just a slightly less fancy. Who can say why? But with a bunch of medicinal elements and herbs and stuff in it, alongside some tea. I want you to have this, so when I'm not around, you can have something to help you relax.
Thanks, Gentle. I really appreciate it. I didn't get to tell you this before, but thank you.
For what?
For walking with me. I was batshit terrified in front of all those people, Gentle.
Yeah, me too. Can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
Gentle gives a big hug, and I think just say I'm very proud of you.
What do you have to be proud of me for? It's you who's the little shining star.
Thank you.
And Oka pulls back, I think, and considers Gentle really hard. They actually like reach up, and if Gentle will allow it, just kind of like touch the side of their face. I don't know what's gonna happen, Gentle, at the end of all this, but you are really what makes Andake worth fighting for. And don't think I could ever forget you, or that you're here, or why I fight for our family.
Knowing that there's a chance that we can save you and all the other Paragons makes me fight even harder. And we'll do what we can. I'll stop him from giving in to his ambition while you're gone.
Good luck.
You too.
And Oka kind of steps back, sighs, and then looks around the garden for Jerron.
Jerron is struggling to pack up their tent. Now that Oka got all of their stuff out of it, I think now is when he's like, okay, I can go get my stuff. But they're having a little bit trouble unpacking it and like putting it away because I imagine nobody else is really helping them. So
I think Oka looks for a moment and then walks over. And I think just wordlessly, they just kind of kneel down next to you and just push your arms out of the way and start doing it themselves without saying anything or looking up at you, but they just start doing it for you.
Okay, it's okay. I have this.
It's fine. I don't mind.
And Jerron just kind of is like squatting there next to Oka silently for a few moments, like looking at them kind of working.
And I think in the silence for a moment, Oka, again, not looking at you, they just are like folding up this tent, putting all the components together, like breaking things down and breaking them apart. They just kind of are talking down at the objects in their hands. Dewey has an old mechanics partner in Rosso. Her name is Tonga. She specializes in prosthetics. You could get something nice from her. I'm sure Kane would pay for it.
Thank you for that information. Yeah, I can send a missive over to Kane and see if that's something that we can arrange for. So where are you headed?
And Oka kind of pauses, I think, their hands like still over the pieces of the tent. And they finally like look up and over. And they don't have that red lightning bolt anymore. It's like their eyes again. I'm going to go get Sen.
And Duran's expression darkens just a little bit at that. And they try and like steal their face to hide it, but I think Oka can probably tell regardless. Oh. Right, I suppose it's time.
I got a letter from V. From the last one.
The last one. So where exactly are you going then?
Chukai. Dr. Luso says that the, what did he call it? The stagnation is centered around Kinongbo, so we'll be heading there as soon as possible.
Is it forward of me to ask you to write while you're there?
And Uka puts the tent down and like actually turns to face Duran. How many letters did you write me when I was gone?
8.
Then I'll write you 8.
I'll wait for them. I'll wait for you.
Bye, Duran. And Oka stands up.
Duran stands up as well really quickly and I think grabs onto Oka's arm as they're turning away. Oka, wait.
What, pretty boy?
Stars kiss me.
You know we never got to the end of that fable.
So what was the end?
I guess we'll have to find out. And Oka finally, I think, gently pulls out of Duran's grasp. And they walk toward, I think, where Mercy is and Dr. Luso is, and everyone is gathered, getting ready to get on the teleportation circle.
Yep. Dr. Luso at this point has straightened up, or gayed up from this raised stone dais. Gaining up, everybody. We see the sigils along the teleportation circle's base are on the process of lighting up, and we see like gentle blue light pool upward from the circle. And as it does, the dais like ripples into existence, the invisibling magic flowing off of it like the water that surrounds it. Dr. Luso's silhouette is limned by this like shimmering light. They look up, right? They adjust their glasses and smile upon Oka's arrival. Mercy's there too, I think. And Silali, do you think you'd be there with Mercy? I think so, yeah. Mercy's got like her huge pack on with all the tents and all the supplies and objects and materials shoved into the canvas flap. Duran's javelin is sort of sticking out of the top of it, right? Sharp side up, which is really bad form, but who gives a shit when it's Mercy, right? Turns around, you know, like her hair's back up in her usual ponytail. I think the sides of her head are freshly shaved, her eye patch on solidly, looking freshly splashed with water. I think as your party huddles in front of the teleportation sigil, we kind of get like a final parting image, parting moment from each of you. Who would like to go first?
There's just a lot on Gentle's mind now. Bud's back, but that's not great. Duran's not a hound. I think there's just a lot of anxiety but hope on Gentle's face as they're just sort of steeling themselves for what comes next.
I think Bud's next to you. Bud is still kind of clammed up, still kind of not talking to you, actually, Gentle, but at least Bud's with you. And is like sort of next to your body. You can like feel his like soft, warm fur like against your skin as he's huddled up next to you. It's like big, like black eyes looking around, lowers his head. And then he raises his snout up at you, Gentle, and asks, like as you're stepping onto the circle, where are we going, if not home?
I wanted to get some tea with a friend and also tell them thank you. And then we'll head to Morose.
Okay. Are we ever gonna come back here?
If we want.
Will you ever let me see Sybil again?
If you want.
Okay. Then I guess we can go to Morose for now. And Bud steps onto the stone. And Gentle, you follow.
Duran is going to step onto the dais And as he does, he takes, I think, one last look at Oka, sighs this big, bone-deep sigh, and slips his hand into Gentle's for comfort, and just kind of rests their head on Gentle's arm.
I think maybe as Oka is starting to step towards the circle, I think Siddhali grabs their arm a little intensely.
5 days? They just say out of habit.
Not that.
Oh.
I'm not leaving your side. You know that, right?
You guys have been a thorn in my side.
And I need a favor. And they reach into their bag of holding and very clumsily pull out this like really pristine but otherwise unremarkable looking rapier. And like you can tell she doesn't know how to hold it because bitch has never fought with a sword in their entire life. And they just kind of look at it and she looks back up at Oka. I need you to train me in case something happens with the weave and I can't magic my way out of something. I need that.
Pommel down, love. And Oka just kind of fixes the sword in Sitlali's hand, like moves their elbow in a little bit, tucks their wrist up just slightly, and you don't need to hold that tight.
What is a pommel?
We'll get started.
Okay, and I think they just kind of like carefully put it back in the bag of holding. I think Mercy has something fun planned for us, but otherwise, I will be going with you. We will be going with you to Jukai.
I need my second. But you need a vacation. Take a few days, please.
Yeah.
Please?
Yeah. I do need that.
Sitlali, I think as you step up onto the stone dais after tucking your rapier away, Mercy is there with you, like waiting. She like leans in and says, I don't want to ruin the surprise, but do you like hiking?
She kind of holds up the cane.
Okay. Do you like sweet things?
Yes.
Do you like luxury, being waited on hand and foot?
You know the answer to that one.
You're gonna love this. And like Mercy like nods very smugly, like she's 100% assured that you're gonna just absolutely love whatever she's got planned for you, and like gestures for you to like have some space up on the dais.
And they take it.
Oh, poor Oka. Oka lets Sitlali get up on the dais first. And then they kind of pause and look back at the spot where Ravi's body lay, where they kept vigil over it. And they get back up on the dais, and I think they're standing next to Dr. Luso. They kind of like are tucking their shirt in and getting settled. And I think at this moment where they're not really paying attention to how their face looks, they look so tired and so empty, almost the same way that they did when they first started this whole journey. And then I think they just kind of like bump into Dr. Luso's elbow by accident, and they go, sorry.
Hey, Oka. And Dr. Luso stabilizes you a little, and they look at you. And I think they see the exhaustion just hanging off every eave of your face. And they pause. And she says, you can rest now for a little bit, Oka. Vinash is gone. You're you again.
Yeah, I think the problem is that I don't really know what that means.
I think you get to decide.
Didn't I tell you that?
You did. And I've held on to that ever since you said it to me. So I'll say it back to you. You get to decide the kind of person you are.
Thanks, Sagu. And Oka kind of, I think, just like leans into Dr. Luso and rests their head on their shoulder.
Oh, you're welcome, says Dr. Luso as they sort of, brace a little bit, right? That, they look surprised, but they All right, everyone. Are we ready? On to the next one. And Dr. Aluso raises their hand up through the air, and the glowing blue energy shimmers, grows tangible, and poof, in a single pillar of light, all of your forms vanish into the air. And I think we hold for a minute on the empty glen in the secret garden, and we hear fluttering of wings as we see two ravens flutter through the air and land in the pond. And one of the ravens says in bird, what, shit, fuck, we missed it, we missed them. God, what's the big lady gonna say to us if she knows we didn't actually deliver the message? And the other raven goes, hey, it's okay, Silver Eye, it's okay. She doesn't have to know what she doesn't have to know. We're here, we made it, we're in the big city. We're up here, there's bird bats everywhere, there's absolute dunces. We can run whatever cons we want. All right. What she doesn't know won't kill her. The two ravens get up and flutter away. And on that, we pull to black. And thus ends the adventure for the hounds in Dabathati. But the story's not over yet. Over black, we hear thunder, waves crashing, the coppery smell of lightning. And then, blam! A bolt of electricity lights up the darkness, and we see Manaya Wairua perched on the prow of a ship, the ocean a heaving mass of blackness around her. Her arm is outstretched, her face pinched in concentration, braids whipping like strands of shadow, skin laced with wetness. And another crack of thunder splits the air, and we see fire. Red, hot, sizzling, causing steam to rise up for where it collides with the water, roiling in the depths of the blackened storm clouds all around Manaya, the weave igniting in warm lashes of flame. And then we see a glowing mass, red hot like magma bubbling out of a furnace, emerge from this howling abyss. And the god shard of Mahu descends toward Manaya's fingertips, and Manaya reaches out and becomes Paragon of Mahu. And on that, we cut to black again, and we fade in on a blank white room. It's empty. No windows, no doors, just flat surfaces and a sleek marble floor. In the center of this room, we see a raised dais. And sitting atop this dais is a pedestal. And on top of this pedestal is a letter. There's a hissing noise. A seam in the perfectly smooth wall opens, and a door slides. Coming through this door is a half-elf dressed in the regalia of the Andake Postal Service. Z approaches this letter grimly with all the ceremony of a funeral, someone's last rites, extremely serious here. Z walks up the steps of the dais and lifts up the envelope with a lot of gingerness to it. We pan down and we see words written on the front of this envelope in a really neat longhand. And we realize that the addressee of this letter, their name is written large in the center of this envelope. And their name is Dr. Hitsagatan Aluso. And a note is scrawled at the bottom of the envelope that reads, "To be delivered 8 months after the world ends. No one but you must read the contents within. There's no return address." And on that, we smash the black, and that's been the end of Arc 5 for the Dabathati crew. Everyone, thank you so much. I've been your GM and creative producer, Connie. My pronouns are they, he, and she. You can find me on TikTok, Twitter, Itch, and toss a coin to your Connie on Ko-Fi at by Connie Chong. That's BYCONNIECHNG. I'm going to pass along introductions up and over to Quinn.
Connie, what? Hi, I'm Quinn. My pronouns are they, she. Twitter is at Quintastic_. Follow me for all my projects there. I am doing a lot right now. Fuck. What? Connie, what? I have been Sitlali Thornheart. Will she reclaim the family name? We'll see. Who also uses they, she pronouns. Our darling changeling grave cleric. Not so much change, more, yeah. Yikes, TM. Dare.
Hi, it's Dare, the Morosi Hound. Pronouns she, they, fey. Gentle's pronouns are they, them. You can catch me on all parts of the internet at Dare to Dream RPG, DARE, the number 2, DREAM RPG. I just do things a lot. I just kind of cute on the internet, and people find that interesting. There's a lot to unpack. We'll deal with this later. One a woo for all the dogs out there. A woo, if you will. I'm gonna throw it to Hamna, my fired friend.
Okay, hello. My name is Hamna and I use any and all pronouns. And I am a TTRPG performer. You can find me on Twitter at @shahid_, where I talk about all of the different projects that I'm a part of. I make bad decisions everywhere. Yeah. I have been Dronkathar, who uses they, he pronouns, who is no longer a hound, which I saw coming, but I'm so sad. I want to be a hound again. Give it back to me, Connie.
Earn it.
Give it back to me. And I'll pass it along to C.
Hi, everyone. My name is C. I use they, them pronouns. I am a TTRPG performer, digital artist, dramaturg, and producer. You can find me making very trans, very gay art on the internet at Pie Sharp Art. I'm sure that I am going to make like a very gay hounds picture because I am having emotions about this being the last hounds-isode. That's maybe not what we should call it, but I tried. Awoo! Awoo's sadly me right now. Yeah, you can find me making Pie Sharp art on the internet. I played Okahyen, who is a prince. And they use they, them pronouns, and they're in love with a very ominous man. So, several, I think, ominous people. So, there we go. That's all I have to say about it. Connie, make me stop.
I'll make you stop. This has been amazing. The final constellation of the hounds, the final episode. I just want to sit in this for a minute. Thank you, amazing audience, for being along the ride with us. We are going to raid someone now. Someone really awesome, I'm sure. But before then, make sure to tune in Saturdays for us at 5 p.m. U.S. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. The final episode of Arc 5 is going to air next week to tie up the entire arc with the Kier Tull crew. Will you get another post-credit scene? Maybe. Perhaps about something that's been unresolved here. We'll see. We're going to be raiding someone really awesome. Use the raid command in their chat. Even if you can't say Transplanar sent you, follow them if you like their stuff. Say you're going to lurk, etc., etc. Rep Transplanar in chat. We love you all so much. See you next Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific. Bijou for the last time with the hound. Bijou.
Oh.
Okay, goodbye.